Omar, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and speak to us today.
Thank you for talking to me.
Now, of course, the eyes of the entire world are on ISIS, Iraq and Syria, but could you take us back a few steps and tell us, who are ISIS?
ISIS is a group that, intellectually and organizationally traces its roots back to Al-Qaeda at some point. There was a figure, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, who became very infamous, or famous depending on your perspective, during the American occupation of Iraq in the 2003 and after that. He is a Jordanian figure who moved to Afghanistan in the late 90s and linked up with Al-Qaeda at that time. But Al-Qaeda and the organization that he set up, and his organization went through multiple incarnations and names. They always, didn't really get along. They didn't see eye to eye on most things. But somehow they were able to manage and engage in operations together in Afghanistan and then in Iraq as well. But at some point, the fissures between the two groups emerged, and this is around 2004, 2005. But in the last year or so, they became much more big, and now they've completely separated from them. In fact, they engaged in kind of a mortal combat. And but in the process of that happening, or what else was also happening was that this group was gaining territory because it was active in Iraq in early 2000s. There was little place that it had sort of control over, and from that it just kept expanding. And now we're at the stage, given the situation in Iraq and the Syrian war, that they're able to control a much bigger territory, build more alliances. But they're not an Al-Qaeda group. That's one thing that has to be made clear.
Can you speak to us about that division and that split? Why did it happen?
Right, so some of it has to do with ideology, and some of it has to do with strategy and tactics. The ideology basically has to do with Al-Qaeda sees itself as primarily engaging in smaller operations, taking down regimes that it doesn't agree with, sort of, engaging in lots of local fights. So they have a franchise-based system in which there are people who affiliate themselves with Al-Qaeda all over the world. And the idea is fight the local regimes that you are directly confronted with. And the question of the caliphate or the question of the Islamic State is delayed. I mean, that was something that they imagine will happen afterwards, not right now, not in the immediate context. Whereas Islamic State, on the other hand, has believed that what we need to do is first build an Islamic State. And in that sense, they're more like Taliban, that they want to control territory, rule it, govern it in the way they imagine is right. And then, from that position, take on the other enemies that they are fighting with. So that's one difference. The other big difference would be how they view other Muslims. Al-Qaeda, is also problematic from many other Muslims' perspective, in the sense that it is very quick to label Muslims that it disagrees with as non-Muslims. But Islamic State is even much more quick. So that's another big difference. And the third difference has to do with how they want to display violence, and how gruesome they want to get. And this is something, I mean, the last one is a more tactical sort of difference between the two groups. But the Islamic State engages in more public displays of, the spectacle of violence. It's more interested in that.